Welcome everyone. You've reached the 2021 CyVerse webinar series. I'm Tina Lee, CyVerse's User Engagement Officer. Our webinar today is going to take you through the CyVerse user portal and what you can find there. It'll be presented by our lead developer, Matt Bomhoff of our Cloud Native Services team. For those of you who are new to CyVerse, we are a cyber infrastructure project funded by the U.S. National Science Foundation, and we offer these free webinars to fulfill a key part of our mission, which is to train scientists on how to use CyVerse and its computational resources. Let me take care of some housekeeping real quickly before we start the webinar. Today's presentation is approximately 30 minutes. We'll take time for your questions at the end. Please mute your audio, open your Zoom chat window, and type any questions there for us, and we'll answer those when we're done. The webinar video recording and other materials from today will be posted to our website for you to review at any time. CyVerse offers other virtual training events besides these webinars, so please head to our website, to our Learn page there, and you can see what other trainings we offer, which will include the very popular Foundation Open Science Skills course, an Intro to Containers workshop, and later this summer, an Advanced Containers workshop. So I'm going to kick it off by going through a very quick orientation to what CyVerse is and kind of its history and how it's built before then Matt takes off and shows us the new portal. So I hope everyone can see my screen. I've got to click on that. Okay. As I mentioned, the National Science Foundation funded us, and our mission is to design, deploy, and expand a national cyber infrastructure for life science research and to train scientists in its use. So again, that's what these webinars are about. CyVerse went from an idea to the open science workspace in over several years, but it started off in 2006 with a solicitation issued by National Science Foundation for a project to build cyber infrastructure to help the plant sciences community deal with the growing deluge of data that was coming. So together, the U of A with 3 partners wrote a proposal, and we got funded in 2008 under the name the iPlant Collaborative. We worked and found out what the community wanted and needed, and we did our first public launch in 2010 of just one major element of our current cyber infrastructure, but a very key one. It was the data store, which, as you know, underlies everything that is done on CyVerse. Our big promotion was that every user got 2 gigabytes free storage. So you can see we've come a long way. We continued to build out this cyber infrastructure, and in 2013, we were renewed by NSF, and we broadened our mission to include all life sciences because data is data, and we realized that being sort of domain agnostic, we could serve a larger community. So in 2016, we rebranded as CyVerse, which is a sort of a connection between the CyVerse and, the cyber universe, and we broadened our mission to help transform science through data-driven discovery. In 2018, we were further renewed a second time by NSF, and we find ourselves here today about halfway through that renewal. I wanted to show you what we call our layer cake, which is the blueprint for how cyber infrastructure built by CyVerse has been architected and built. So on the top layer that you see there is what users see. Our products like the discovery environment. Some of you may be familiar with the DNA Subway platform or BISC. And that is the most easy to use layer, basically, right? That's what users see. It's sort of a user interface. Below that, we have some key and foundational services. Again, our data store, APIs, application programming interfaces for users who have some coding skills to be able to customize and utilize some of the underlying services there in a more intensive way. We have our authentication as well as our search capabilities that, again, all of these you can access from the main platforms that the users see. Below those two are the key, what we call low-level services, but they're foundational, or I should say below foundational, and they include the federated storage, single sign-on, authentication, the ability to do virtualization, job scheduling, and exceed the national high-performance computing infrastructure. And then below that, of course, is our hardware layer, which our beloved IT people take care of very effectively. CyVerse now supports all domains of life sciences research, and we have data of all sorts, from plant and microbial to animal, biomedical, ecological, GIS, and even some astronomy data. So CyVerse is built for handling data. Keep that in mind. I wanted to discuss here on this slide basically some of our latest analytics and statistics. We have got a total of about 90,000 users, and currently there's probably close to 5 petabytes of data that move in and out and around in CyVerse. So that is a ton of data. Many people have been using CyVerse to do their research, as evidenced by the more than 1,200 citations that have been published. And we have offered trainings like this webinar for years now. And so we've trained, probably about 45,000 people through webinars, through on-site trainings, through our workshops, etc. Virtual machines have been launched through our Atmosphere cloud platform, and the total jobs run to date, well, that's not quite to date, it's a little bit maybe from late last year, but I'd round that off maybe to about 1.4 million jobs. So you can see that we have become the open science workspace for collaborative data-driven discovery. This slide lists some of the help resources that you can find. The key one is go to our website. From there you can get learning resources about webinars, workshops, and our documentation. You can sign up for a user account. That'll take you to the portal, which again, Matt will show you very shortly. You can access platforms such as the Discovery Environment or BISC and other platforms. And you can also find newsletter and email notifications, as well as news about what the community's been doing using CyVerse. We have a learning center where you can find our documentation in the popular Read the Docs format. In all of our platforms, as well as in our website, you can see this little tiny icon here, and it'll be in the bottom right corner. That's an in-app chat and support icon. So if you click on that, you'll be able to type a question or tell us what you're having difficulties with, and we will respond. And I've got also there that in the user portal, which is, there's the link right there. Matt will go over this in detail, but you'll have the ability to reset your password, request more storage if you need it, request to host an external workshop using CyVerse, and request collaboration and consulting services from us. So I just wanted to end this little bit of mine here by saying, please join the data science revolution. And one of the ways to think about how we operate and why we encourage you to join us is that somebody said this was an African proverb, but I'm not sure that that is accurate, but it says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So with that, I'm going to turn over the webinar to Matt, but I'm first going to give him a little introduction. Matt Bomhoff is a developer on our Cloud Native Services team. He graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in Computer Systems Engineering and has worked as a bioinformatics software engineer here at the University of Arizona on several projects. He started with the comparative genomics project Koji and moved on to the microbiome platform iMicrobe, both of which are powered by CyVerse projects. And now he's been with CyVerse itself. He enjoys all aspects of scientific software development, from building analytical pipelines to building user interfaces. So hello, Matt. I'm going to stop sharing and let you take over.
Thanks, Tina, and hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to show you the new user portal. We've been working on this since March, myself and our web designer, Mariah Wall. and we just released the new version on the 12th of this month. There are two reasons why we redesigned the user portal. The first is to make the interface align with the new discovery environment interface that will be available for beta testing, I believe, next month. That interface is more modern and user-friendly, and you'll hopefully see that today in the user portal. Second reason that we redesigned was to update the code to the latest technology and best practices, which helps us with maintainability and security. If you are new to CyVerse, the user portal is the central place to create and manage your account and CyVerse resources. As an analogy, Google has a Google account page, and let me share my screen here so I can show you that. Google has the Google account site where you can manage all aspects of your Google account versus the tools that they offer, such as Google Search and Google Drive. And so that's the role that the user portal plays in CyVerse. Is, you know, CyVerse has the discovery environment and other tools, and the user portal is where you will go to create and manage your account. And my intent for this talk today is just to give a brief demo of the user interface to allow plenty of time for questions. And I'll go to the CyVerse.org landing page to begin. This is the starting point for everything you can do with CyVerse. And to get to the user portal, you can click login if you have an existing account, or sign up or create account if you need to create a new account. So I'll go ahead and click create account. This takes me directly to the new user portal account creation form. And this is very similar to what you will see for other sites that you've signed up for in the past. We do have two additional steps where we ask for some institutional and demographic information. Just some tips about choosing a username. We recommend that you choose one that you've used on other sites, just so it's easier to remember. Although now with the new user portal, you can log in with your username or your email address. So that makes it a little easier to remember. There are restrictions on what characters you can use when creating a username or entering your email and password. The form will notify you when you've entered a character that's not supported. And then when you fill out all three steps of this sign up form, you'll click a submit button. And what happens next is an email is sent to you with a link to set your password. And then once you've done that, you can log in. If you do not receive that email and you can't find it in your spam folder, please contact us at support@cyverse.org and we will resend that to you. And let's see if I go back here to, let's go back just to the main user.cyverse.org. You can access the portal directly by going here. If you have trouble logging in, you can't remember your password, you can click this forgot password link and enter your email address, and we'll send you an email to reset your password. One more thing on creating an account. We recommend that you do not create a single account for your lab or team and have people share that. We recommend that for each member of your team, you create a separate account. And then within the CyVerse tools, there are data sharing and collaboration features. Okay, so let me go ahead and log in here. And I have a test account for this demo. And once you log in, the first thing you'll see is this sidebar menu with the different options. You can collapse this, by the way, once you become a power user. At the top is a menu bar with a help button. and an account button. I'll talk about this help button a little later, but for now I'll click the account button. This is a view that shows you the identification and institutional and demographic information that you entered during the sign up process. You can edit this and it will auto save. There's no update button that you need to click. The exception to that is where you can change your password. That does require you to click update. You can also add or change your email associated with the account and change your mailing list subscriptions. There's a mailing list for each CyVerse service. We ask that you try to keep your institutional and demographic information up to date. The user portal will give you a little pop-up reminder about once a year to do that. And this is helpful to the CyVerse leadership for marketing and funding purposes. I'll go ahead and click services here in the sidebar. Basically what you see here are all of the CyVerse services that are available, tools and services. Basically in the layer cake diagram that Tina showed earlier, these are the frosting. And when you create an account, by default, you are automatically registered for the discovery environment and the data commons. And these are the two most commonly used tools within CyVerse. And that's why they're shown here under my services, is that it automatically registered those for me. Under available are tools that I can register for. And I encourage you to click on each one. I'll select Bisq here as an example, which is an image processing platform. And I encourage you to read the detailed description and determine if this tool might be useful to you. You don't have to register for any of these. But if you do want to, just click this request access button. And what happens when you click that is that the button changes to pending, and some configuration work is done behind the scenes to make this service accessible to your account. And then after a matter of maybe seconds, maybe a minute, the button will show launch. And then you are able to use this tool and just click that button or click the link here and it will take you directly to that tool. If I click back on services here, so I've covered my services, I've covered available. Once you do register for a service, it will show up under your services here. And lastly is powered by CyVerse. And these are tools that rely heavily on CyVerse infrastructure components. And there's no need to register for these. You can just click launch and go directly to the tool. Let's see here. Next, I will talk about this requests option in the sidebar menu. Requests are basically just forms that you can submit to make a request. For example, if you need more space in your data store, you can use the request data store allocation increase form. I'll click on that just so you can see what a form looks like. This one has 3 steps, and the form will ensure that you enter all the required fields in the proper format. What happens when you fill one out and click submit is an email is sent to our support system with the form field information, and then someone will respond on a business day, usually within that day. I'd like to highlight a couple more of these forms. One of them is request for community release data folders. If you have data in the data store that you would like to make publicly accessible, this is the form that you would fill out. And finally, the request workshop or webinar form. If there's a topic or tool that you'd like to see covered, you can submit this request. Next, I'll move on to workshops. This view shows any workshops that you've enrolled in. It also shows upcoming workshops right now. There aren't any currently available, but there will be soon. And it also shows any past workshops that you have attended. I'm going to switch over to our development site where I've created a mock workshop just so I can show off what that looks like. If I select that, you'll see a more detailed description. You can download this as an event to your calendar, and then you can enroll in the workshop. When you click this button, it will change to pending, and an email is sent to our support system where someone will approve the enrollment. Down below here, it shows the services that are used in this workshop. And in this case, Atmosphere and Bisq. When you are enrolled, you are automatically registered for these services, and they will appear under the My Services section here in the services option, services view. Finally, I'd like to talk about the support section. These are just links to CyVerse documentation. There's a ton of documentation available. I'll just highlight the first few here that are particularly useful for people that are new. There's a getting started guide. There are tutorials for all of the CyVerse services. And there's also a list of the upcoming webinars. If you need customized help, if you can't find your answer in these resources, you can click this link here or the help button. And Tina mentioned this, it's a live chat window where you can send us a message. It's sent to our support system where someone will respond pretty quickly. And also here you will be shown occasionally notifications or updates from CyVerse. If some of you are logging in after a while or for the first time, you'll get a couple little pop-up notifications here. And that's just to keep you informed. And let's see, I think that's everything. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Matt. There are a couple questions. So somebody says, I currently get 100 gigabytes of free data storage at CyVerse, but how do I find out how much of my quota I'm using?
Yes, currently there is not a way to view that in the user portal or the DE, although we have plans to show that in the near future. I think the current method is to use the iCommands iQuota command.
Mm-hmm. I think people can kind of eyeball it too if they go to their data files and kind of just add up what their folders are. That's not very helpful, and that's why that feature is planned for the roadmap for the discovery environment. There are a couple of questions here related to a different non-portal questions having to do with like the terrain API and accessing data through the Galaxy powered by CyVerse Galaxy project and things like that. So what I'm going to do is direct people to a webinar that we did back in November of last year, November 6th. Srinivasan, our lead developer of our core services, core software team, he did a webinar on the new discovery environment user interface. And many of those questions can be found there. Okay, so I'm going to, rather than divert from the portal, just refer you back to that webinar, which again, you can find on our website there. And so I don't see any other questions at the moment. One of the questions I had, Matt, was you on the portal, there was a place where it looked like you could have a couple of different email addresses associated with your user account. is there a max to that? Or do you have any sort of guidance on best practices of which one we should prefer?
There isn't a max currently. I recommend that people just choose their email address that they use most often, just for simplicity's sake.
Mm-hmm. And I would add, from sort of the training perspective, if you do have an institutional email account, that is often helpful to us from understanding what context you're using CyVerse tools and resources in. Okay. So if there are any last minute questions for Matt, feel free to type them in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for walking us through the portal and what people can find there. We also are hopeful that if people do have feedback once they try it, to be able to use the chat button and send us that feedback. As I mentioned, we'll be posting the video of this webinar and probably some slides on our website. So feel free to go and review this at any time. So thank you for joining us, and plan on joining us in 2 weeks, when we will provide the next webinar that will be a follow-up to last season's SNP calling webinar presented by Jacob Landis of the Boyce Thompson Institute's Computational Biology Center. Jacob will highlight a few of the downstream PopGen and evolutionary analysis you can do after you've generated variant calls in your study system. So join us for that one. And until then, stay well, everyone. See you back here on February 5th.